So, you want to become a game developer. Now, how do you do this? What are the steps to take? And, where do you even get started? Because there is so much to do and so much to think about. And I just want to first congratulate you on trying to even become a game developer. This is a great creative process. Although, if you want to do more like officially as a business, it can be a little bit more technical, but we'll get into that later. For now, this is a beginner guide on how to, get into it and create your very first game today. Now, the first decision, and probably the biggest decision, or not really the biggest decision, I wouldn't put too much pressure on this decision. Just it's an important one when beginning, and really the only question you really need to figure out before you get started, and that is what game engine should you use? Because this is how you make games in the current day and age, or at least how to make them quick and efficiently in today's gaming world. First of all, there are three big ones that you could consider. There's obviously some other ones if you really want to go down more into that rabbit hole, but if you just want to get started, one of these is obviously a great choice, and you can get started right away. And obviously, don't put too much pressure on this decision. You can change it at any point. Anyways, getting started, first up, we have Unity. Now, Unity is a great and simple tool to use for anything game development. It is both 2D and 3D. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it. It is very cool with been able to make a lot of games with it, obviously. And it's completely free. All these game engines I'm mentioning are completely free. Obviously, at some point there is a pay limit, but most of them are like crazy high where it's like I think you would know when you have to pay this amount of money. It's like over at least $100,000 for Unity. And it's a great tool for both 2D and 3D. Again, it might take a little bit setup for some of these ones. Obviously, you just download it and whatever. I wouldn't recommend Unity if you have like a really low end computer. Godot is obviously a lot better. But for Unity, it's a great simple tool for creating both 2D and 3D games, and really, it's a wide engine that you can be able to create a lot of cool stuff with. Now, if you want something for, more high performance, like really cool graphics, if you're really leaning into that like more realistic game that you want to create, then look no further than Unreal. Now, Unreal is a really great engine for creating like super realistic stuff and making really, really cool games. Although it is a little more complicated, I think it's still doable even as a beginner. I literally started with Unreal, and the Blueprint system literally taught me how to code. So even if you haven't coded before with any of these, Unreal has a built-in Blueprint system. Unity as well has a plugin that you can download, and that has a built-in like scripting system where you basically just connect nodes, kind of like Scratch, if you ever heard of that. Obviously, Unity takes a little more setup for the Blueprint system, or for its node system, versus Unreal. It's kind of built. It's already built in. And lastly, we have Godot. Godot is the super simple 2D and 3D one. It's also completely open source, completely free. If you are on like the lowest end of computer, I would highly recommend Godot. Um, and there's a ton of resources out there. Obviously, I feel like Unity has the most resources because it's the most broad and you could use it for a lot of things. Unreal's got quite a bit of tutorials, and Godot. Obviously, these are the top three ones, so all of them are going to have really great tutorials. Now, once you've actually downloaded and got the engine up and open, and obviously, if you don't like know how to do this or whatever, a lot of them have like download latest, and like if you really need to, there are tutorials online. You can literally just look up how do I install this, or just everything's you can just do it with AI now, so just do that too. Now, finally, once you've actually got open into the engine, it can be very, very overwhelming. You're just gonna have to kind of sit back and kind of like maybe you could try to mess around with it at first, but obviously you're not gonna know what you're doing. So I think the best way to learn how to do this is from a tutorial that shows you how to make your very first game. Because obviously, to be able to motivate yourself, it's also a really great thing to just have something on the screen that you've actually made. So again, just go onto YouTube, and there are some really great tutorials. For both Unity and Godot, I would highly recommend Brackeys. He's got a really great channel with a lot of really cool tutorials. that I would highly recommend for either Godot or Unity. And again, for both of these, you can literally just look up how to make a game in Unreal. And a lot of the first options are going to like how to create a guide for a beginner, like this one. And just go through and kind of literally just pick one, start following it, and eventually you should have a game within your first day of having whatever engine you end up choosing. And after you've made your first game, might think like, oh, this is kind of cool, and I want to keep pursuing this stuff. And after that, I would recommend, continuing to watch other tutorials on like how do you make, a multiplayer game, or, if there's certain features that you want to learn how to make, and incorporate into your own games. If there's certain features like, you want to make more of an FPS, like there are tons of tutorials out there on how to do this type of thing. You just have to look them up and slowly learn them over time. And obviously, you might get to a point where probably shouldn't need a tutorial anymore. So you should have like a kind of good understanding of like the overall engine and the different tools within it. So you should be able to start using your own, um, features and or the game that I'm sorry, the game engine itself's features just by experience from creating games with these tutorials. And eventually you'll get to a point where you kind of mastered the engine, and if you want, you can go ahead and try different other engines, which I have done. I've tried all three of these engines. I will say, obviously, Unreal, I haven't had the best performing computers, so Unreal is kind of hard for me to run, but I was still able to make quite a few games on my when I first started out with Unreal, which is kind of cool. Unity I've tried for some time. I really like Unity for its simplicity of like objects and components. It like really works well together. And Godot I've also really liked too. It's very, very similar to Unity, although it's a lot simpler and it's free, so obviously another great thing. And anyways, that is going to be about it for this tutorial, or beginner tutorial, I guess you could say. Sorry, this episode was a little more scuffed. I'm not currently with my normal setup that I usually have, so this is super scuffed. And also, I brought my mouse with me, but of course it didn't work for whatever reason. Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this little tutorial, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.